Wow, it's certainly bright up here. Good morning. My name is Dawn McGee from Good Works Ventures, and I bring you greetings from the Big Sky country of Montana. It's my pleasure this morning to facilitate a panel on distribution and processing. I think for those of you who are working in food systems in your local economies, you're completely aware of sort of the chicken and egg syndrome of trying to get scale and processing and distribution all re-happening back in our local economies. So I'm going to start this morning with introducing the panel who are going to present some remarks to you and then take some questions from the floor and just try to have kind of lively discussion about what processing and distribution mean in the communities in which our entrepreneurs are situated. First up, I'd like to introduce Bob Klein, who's from the Bay Area, and he's on a mission to bring back flour from being an exclusively industrial produced product, and he's creating a sort of local grain economy built around artisanal whole grains and grain flours. He also owns a restaurant, and I'd like to welcome Bob Klein.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm Bob Klein from Community Grains in Oakland, California. That's not Oakland, that's near Oakland, though. In the Bay Area, we're surrounded by some really extraordinarily good farmland and exceptional farmers. We used to be a wheat state. 100 years ago, before we got all plumbed up, we were a major wheat state, and I guess most of America was wheat also. We began about 7 years ago, Community Grains began about 7 years ago, mostly driven by curiosity about wheat, a food that's so central to our diets and yet opaque, possibly more like a black hole. That curiosity led us into many aspects of what's being called the local grain movement. We're very much a part of that movement, but the key defining aspects of the local grain economy we're trying to build are a true whole grain economy. We're not about refined flour or processing reconstituted flour. We have a focus on delicious food. It's got to be really good. And scale, we're from Northern California. There are a lot of us in Northern California. And we want organic, we want local, we want whole grains, we want it flowing into bakeries, into supermarkets, into schools, into hospitals. We think that grain can scale and maintain a very high level of quality and responsibility and nutrition. We think that efficiencies may not be a dirty word with regard to grain production. Community Grains is a small company. There are 3.5 of us, but we've accomplished a lot with the help of an extraordinary community of farmers, of scientists, of journalists, bakers, millers, and retailers. Early on, I described Community Grains as an information company with products. Wheat is enormously complex. Very little information is available from the black hole. Lots of misinformation and disinformation. Bakers, farmers, millers don't have the vocabulary to talk to each other. Regulation governing the definition of whole grains is near non-existent. We've learned a lot. We've developed and presented lots of information, lots of talks, videos, interactive infographics, meetings. This conference last March was really extraordinary and was so important to many of us. There's full video coverage of this on our website if you find you have the time. The DNA in the company is really about learning, and that's an ongoing process. From the beginning, we understood that in order to have a fighting chance at achieving our mission of representing whole grains, we had to change a lot of minds about its flavor and texture. We had to stress the diversity and nutritional value of whole grains and rebuild our connection to it. Without a great tasting product and a consumer base that was connected to it, this system couldn't possibly succeed. We've introduced our whole grain pastas and flours to some of the country's top bakers and chefs. We get back from them innovation and great food, which we believe moves the culture. We get a lot of press, but the most important for us is about how good the taste and texture is. We think this is the direct line to our eventual success. This is a big part of our future, identity preserved. This is the first product, which is a pasta, which carries full information with it. But there's a lot more coming down the line. Full information will follow every IP product, and eventually it'll include soil management, pollinators, and more. Who knows, one day maybe we'll have some specs on microbial communities.
Woo.
I think we will. To achieve this, we were awarded a grant from the USDA to conduct a feasibility study for an organic, local, identity-preserved cleaning and storage facility. This is the giant impediment to scaled-up local grain economy, handling millions of pounds. Varieties, farming techniques, efficiencies, pricing, marketing, these are all being worked on and thought about with an exceptional team of farmers and scientists. We're all focused on creating a thriving, non-commodity, non-industrial structure. We started working on grain cleaning and storage problems several years ago, but we couldn't get very far without a predictable market. We needed to know who'd buy it, and when they went to their customers, would they pay the extra price for non-commodity wheat and non-commodity pricing? And how would we develop the information for them so that they'd know that they were getting value? Our relationships with great retailers and bakers, particularly Whole Foods in Northern California, has filled that gap. We have commitments for pretty large grain buys. We have our pastas in Whole Foods stores in both coasts. We're in Northern California Prepared Foods and working closely with Northern California Bakery. We have a successful whole grain cookie line and are working on additional baked goods. We also have great relationships with Whole Foods Global in Austin. Given our small number, we've spread ourselves pretty thin in all the areas we think important for the local grain economy, but we've achieved good depth in those areas with one exception. That's the development of local grain, development of community grains as a business, but now's the time. Funds we're seeking will be used for business infrastructure, product development, and sales. In addition to what I've mentioned in IP flour, retail, and food service, we've begun working with hospitals, school districts, and we think we may have a method with our biochemists of analyzing the true whole grain characteristics of flour. This is something that really doesn't exist now. We think we're entering a huge golden age of local grains, which we want to help lead. We see lots of advances over the next few years. We'll learn more about the varieties we want to grow, improve farming techniques and efficiencies, get a better handle on health effects. Gluten will sort itself out. We'll find ourselves some extraordinary food, and we'll know how to communicate all of it. Thanks so much. I've got red lights all over the place, sorry.
Thank you, Bob. We're lucky enough to have Shelley Herman, and I know her husband's here too, from Irvin Shelley's Fresh Picks. They're serving Chicago and the Milwaukee area with the healthiest local and organic foods directly to their door, and she's here to tell us how it's done.
Good morning, everybody. So, when I first met Irv, my wonderful husband and business partner, we were back at MIT studying business, and we shared this desire to take these newfound skills and figure out some great issues to tackle. We went off in our careers and did different things. We got married, had 2 kids, and we found ourselves with our young family being very concerned about our food system, like most of you. And, its negative effects on our environment, on people's health, and on the local economy. So, like most good entrepreneurs, we started visioning, and we thought, well, what if all of our food wasn't grown on large factory farms with heavy use of pesticides and hormones and antibiotics? And what if it wasn't then taken by multinationals and highly processed into packaged food and then served up as fast food? What would a good food system look like? And this picture, this is Growing Power in their youth program, one of the farms we buy from. And, it really is an example of what our vision is. We vision that everybody has access to good food. and everyone knows where their food comes from, how it was grown, and that there is a community around growing, cooking, or learning to cook again, and eating, that shared meals around the table with family and friends is a part of our regular routine. So, the first part of our vision was building strong partnerships with our farmers that serve with Jose and Vicky of Genesis Growers in Illinois. And back when we started our company, Fresh Picks, 8 years ago, what the farmers were telling us was, hey, I got a lot of work here to do on the farm. It'd be really great if someone could help me distribute my product into the city and market it to consumers there. So we thought, okay, we can do that. This is the part of the local food system we're going to help build. So we got a warehouse, we built it out for cold storage. It serves as a food hub to aggregate, store, pack, and distribute food, and we support about 100 farmers right now. Wonderful farmers. So our actual business model is that people order online. We make deliveries directly to homes and businesses all throughout the Chicago and Milwaukee regions. We're in about 250 zip codes right now. We make about 45,000 deliveries every year. This is a picture in our cooler of a few members of our wonderful team. We pack in the cooler to maintain the freshness of the food. We deliver in insulated containers. We have a fleet of vans that goes out making deliveries 6 days a week. So this is a slide, you don't have to see all of this, but this was, being business nerds. We had to do the slide of the product life cycle, and this is the strategic thinking behind our business model, that the part that we feel we're playing in building this local food supply chain for the future is that we're an intermediary step for our small farms. Most farmers, they start, they do a CSA, they sell at the farmer's market, they'll sell to a few restaurants, but it's a big leap to then go sell to Whole Foods or Walmart. And we want our food everywhere, so we want to get there. So the role that we serve as a small distributor is that we can educate our farms on post-harvest handling, on packaging, labeling, sizing, all of those issues to help them get ready to sell to the big guys. In terms of impact, we feel we've had significant impact so far with our beautiful food from our farms, with the thousands of families we deliver to, the hundreds of thousands of dollars we give to our farmers every year with our purchases. We send millions of dollars of food into the low-income neighborhoods of Chicago. A lot of that we do with partnerships like with Chicago Public Schools. And our current focus right now is on staffing up and building infrastructure to have new channels to give more people access to our food. And we're also very focused on technology. We compete in a very fast-changing online marketplace, and we need our technology to be as good as our food if we're going to have more people join this good food movement. We need about $250,000 for our investment, and we really look forward to increasing our impact. We want to feed more people good food and provide more opportunities for our farmers. Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. Next up is Peggy Sutton, who hails from Fitzpatrick, Alabama, and she's living proof that you can start in a barn and move into a 7,200 square foot facility with To Your Health Sprouted Flour Company.
Hey, y'all. My name is Peggy Sutton. I'm a founder and president of To Your Health Sprouted Flour Company. And I started my business in 2006 during a personal effort to return to the traditional preparation of foods when heart disease and cancer were rare. And part of my research uncovered the time-honored tradition of sprouting grains before consuming them to make them nutrient-rich and easily digestible. I was fascinated by the process and absolutely astounded by the flavor difference between sprouted bread and unsprouted bread. I was hooked. I wanted everybody to make bread with sprouted flour, and the rest is history. To Your Health manufactures sprouted organic grains, legumes, and flours. We currently sprout 25 different grains and legumes, 15 of which are gluten-free in a dedicated gluten-free facility. Sprouted grains and flours have exploded in popularity, as the country enters a new baking revolution. Cookbooks are being written and international workshops are being conducted about the benefits of baking with sprouted flour. Our challenge at hand is to make this nutrient-rich flour available to everyone in their local neighborhoods. We've recently had 3 of our products go global with Whole Foods Market, and we expect further growth in the retail market in the coming years. My first year of operation grossed $8,500 in sales. My husband Jeff would tell folks, my wife has the neatest little hobby that happens to pay for itself. We expect to close this year with gross sales around $2.7 million. I'm projecting sales of $4.5 million in 2015 and $20 million within 5 years. There are other organic sprouting companies around the country, including Lindley Mills in North Carolina, Anita's Organic Milling in British Columbia, and the Essential Eating brand, but we far outweigh their current capacity and variety. Our current production is 70,000 pounds per week, and current contracts will require that we triple that production within 12 months. We sell bulk, wholesale, retail, and export to several countries. We also sell to private label companies, many of which may be on your local store shelf today. Most of our marketing consists of informational and educational materials, as well as some domestic and international trade shows. We've created an educational website, truesprout.org. Okay. To help consumers understand the benefits of sprouted organic grains, where to find them, how to bake and cook with them, and to identify products on the market that are made from true sprouted organic grains. To Your Health is located in rural southeast Alabama in Bullock County. Our county is the 3rd poorest county in our state. One job created in our county equals 27 jobs in the adjoining county, which houses our state capital. We currently employ 29 team members, 28 of which reside in our county. So our business impact has been tremendous to the local economy. We're planning our 3rd expansion in 2015, which will create an additional 15 to 20 jobs in 3 years. And it will include solar and water recycling initiatives to lessen our footprint on the local landscape. My company is registered as a disadvantaged, woman-owned business in a hub zone. Our newest initiative is the formation of an organic farming co-op for our state to encourage and assist farmers to grow organically. I'm currently working with our state agricultural commissioner, Auburn University, War Eagle, the Alabama Farmers Association, the Rural Development Foundation, and a group of innovative grant writers, and several organic farmers to form this co-op and equip it with funds, shared equipment, and knowledge to make organic farming a lucrative career in Alabama. My business will truly become a buy local entity when I can purchase organic grains grown in our own backyard in Alabama. We are currently seeking, and I'm sorry, my slideshow's out of order. We're currently seeking $170,000 to purchase new automated packaging equipment to make our current and expected retail growth more efficient. For those who would be interested in our upcoming expansion and farming co-op, I welcome the opportunity to discuss our plans in detail. Thank you kindly for letting me bend your ears and hopefully excite you about the emerging trend in sprouted organic grains and flours. Peace, love, and sprouted flour power, y'all.
Thank you, Peggy. Megan Deer's coming to us from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, to talk about her company, which is called Localize, and they're focused on removing some of the barriers that keep people from knowing about their local food and their local food system.
Hi, everyone. So, my name is Megan Deer. I'm the CEO and founder of a technology company called Localize. And what we do is aggregate information about where food has come from and the context of its production. And then we work with grocery stores to deliver shelf labeling programs that actually articulate that information right on the shelf about individual products. So my own story actually starts as a professional biologist. I worked in agriculture research for about 10 years. And throughout that time, I farmed with my dad. And one of the things that I observed was that when we went to the farmer's market and sold his vegetables, that his customers were really smart. They would ask us questions like, where did this come from? How did you grow it? What are the varieties? Smart questions. And one of the ironies was that one of our markets was right across the parking lot from a grocery store. And when our customers would cross the threshold into that grocery store, they would drop any pretense that they got to know the answers to those questions. And that is the problem that I wanted to solve. So this is how we do it. We're effectively a data company. We work with grocery stores to design campaigns that look like their programs or co-brand with them. And so we design the campaign together. We've made a brand around talking about where food has come from. We work with over 600 food producers and manufacturers in Western Canada to bring their information to the shelf edge. And what we're finding is that we can move beyond just where the food has come from into the broader context of their stories and their production. So all of our labels always express information that's relative between that grocery store and the point of production. We then work with grocery stores to automate the process. We always know what's in their store at any given time, and then we support the program, and this is something that we're really building out right now, which is a set of back-end features that make us really sticky with grocery stores and allow us to really address some of the pains that grocers face in bringing in more local and regional and transparent food products. So we've had some great traction. We're working with 275 retails. We added one today across Western Canada. We work with over 600 food producers, and we have over 250,000 data points that we've collected. What we're really proud about is our impact. So we see with the grocery stores who subscribe, so our business model is that grocers pay between $100 and $200 per month to access the software service on multi-year contracts. And so we see an average $82,000 per year per store in increased sales of just those labeled products. And to bring that into context of 275 retails, that would be over $22 million every year that are coming back into local economies because of a simple identification program. Thank you. So we've got a plan, and we want to grow beyond Western Canada. So I founded Localize 3.5 years ago. We've managed to grow it to the point where we're at. We have $30,000 in recurring monthly revenue right now, and we think that over the next 9 months we can bring that up to $90,000 a month. This past September, we hired our first 2 team members to start operations in Eastern Canada, and we're really interested in bringing our data service and technology into the United States. And we would like to start operating early next year. We've already started conversations with a number of retail grocery chains towards that ends. And the ultimate goal is to reach $10 million in sales in the next 5 years for that locality-based campaign. But we're very compelled by the efficiency by which we can collect and express information, and we think that we can replicate that several times, feasibly becoming a $40 to $50 million company in the next 5 to 6 years. So 2 weeks ago, we also became a certified B Corporation. We're incredibly proud of that, and we've also had some other great validations about our business and our social mandate. We won the 2013 Best Business Case at the Social Enterprise World Forum. We've also had some technology validation, winning the $100,000 grand prize technology competition for fast growth companies. And thanks, you guys. And we built a really fantastic team from across several industry sectors, including people like Michael Zellmer, who came to us from the executive level of Fair Trade Canada, and Kelly Hajar, who has a great deal of experience in executive sales and a great technology team. So what we're looking for right now is to sustain this momentum and this growth. We're looking for $1 million. We're actually about 60% of the way there. And we're looking for people who understand our mandate and can identify with the vision that we have for better information at the shelf's edge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan. Brandon Yeager is coming to us from the Appalachia, Ohio, where he and his partner Michelle operate Shagbark Seed and Mill Company. You guys might have had some of the chips that have been out there that are outstanding. And so he's here to bring us the story behind the flavor.
Hey everybody. It's really humbling and inspiring to be here. It's great to be standing up too. Thanks for inviting me to tell you all about how building a tortilla factory in Appalachian, Ohio can help fuel a staple food revolution. If you drove to the gathering, like I did, you probably saw a lot of cornfields, either recently harvested or drying down in the field. Now, I didn't grow up looking at cornfields. I grew up in Levittown, Pennsylvania, the birthplace of suburban sprawl, the cultural dead zone of mediocrity between vibrant cities and agriculture. I love you, Mom. Come to think of it, that actually may be the source of my existential anxiety about the food system. So, but I digress, or do I? More than 90% of the corn that you saw on that trip was GMO corn. The state of Ohio, corn covers 4 million acres. And the U.S. grows a total of 84 million acres of GMO corn. I just found out that that is an area roughly 3 times the size of the state of Kentucky. Ew. So, you know, that's corn, people. That's the amazing grain, staple food that built sophisticated societies before the marauding conquistadors outlawed it, and before we did who knows what to it. So I guess you guys got a chance to taste the tortilla chips in the last few days. Oh, good. You may not know, we tried to make sure everyone knew, but they're made from Ohio-grown organic corn, which, by the way, means both non-GMO and non-chemical. Yeah. So you may not also realize, but it might not be a surprise, these chips have been a driver for Shagbark's growth from $11,000 to $400,000 in 4 years. But the thing is, we didn't set out to make the best tortilla chip in the world. I'm a food activist in Appalachian, Ohio, a region rife with chronic poverty, rural food deserts, an epidemic of diet-related illnesses, and a history of resource extraction. But back in 2008, whether I was at home or traveling around the country, I couldn't help but notice a gap in the locavore diet, and it was beans and grains, the staple foods. You can feel the existential anxiety growing. And because let's face it, when there are food riots around the world, it's not because of a dearth of curly leaf kale of the heirloom variety. It's bread, corn tortillas, rice, beans, chapatis, the staple foods that have been so important to a healthy human diet for thousands of years. It's also the lion's share of the U.S. agriculture, which means there's a lot of great opportunity for local food economies, don't you think? Yeah. So Michelle and I planted test plots of high nutrition beans and grains on borrowed land with borrowed tractors, and then the calls started coming in. People were ready to buy what we grew, farmers were ready to grow, but the infrastructure that's required to bring that from farm to table is largely lost across the country. So now our bean and grain agriculture looks roughly like that. So in 2010, we started Shagbark Seed and Mill. This is a certified organic processing facility that partners with small family farms in our region, creates a replicable model for regional staple food independence. Yeah. Thanks. You can see the existential anxiety coming down a little bit. Okay. So today, Shagbark's team includes 2 full-time and 12 part-time employees. We partner with 8 family farms to grow 9 different grains and beans, from heirloom popcorn to buckwheat. This year, Shagbark will turn 150 tons of crop into products from dry beans to heirloom polenta to pasta. For farmers markets, grocers, restaurants, and food access programs throughout Ohio. And by the way, the kid is not on the payroll yet. But back to tortilla chips, a snack that is now more popular in the US than potato chips. But I bet you would gladly give up eating them if that simple act could somehow end GMO and corporate chemical agriculture, right? Well, the thing is, you don't have to. Shagbark chips were the #1 selling grocery item in the opening week of a Columbus Whole Foods store, and it's still 2 years later consistently in the top 5. Yeah, we've added, already this year, added 30 stores, and this next month, 17 Kroger stores in Columbus will be adding our products to their natural food section. And I guess that means that the rest of the store is the unnatural food section. This product represents 62% of Shagbark sales. Seriously, folks, these hotcakes are on the brink of becoming a controlled substance. We call them our gateway products for a reason. So what's the problem, you ask? Well, our corn is made into chips in the opposite corner of the state right now, and we want to bring that production in-house. There's a lot of advantages, including cash flow, quality, profitability, reducing the carbon footprint, and creating jobs in the poorest region of the state. In Columbus, I recently met Avelino Paz, who has produced tortillas for 40 years. He and his family are ready to sell us their used equipment and help us with installation and startup. I've already begun working 1 day a week to train in their facility. This equipment would expand our product line to include fresh tortillas, which already promise $40,000 in sales. I feel like Emma Goldman, because if I can't eat these tortilla chips, I guess I don't really want to be part of your revolution. So we're looking for $275,000, and let's make a staple food revolution, 1 bag at a time, of the best tortilla chips in the world. Thanks.
Thanks, Brandon. Mike Higgins is coming to us locally from Louisville, Kentucky, and he's running a 68,000 square foot manufacturing plant, which in terms of scale from the rest of what you heard is quite substantially different. So Mike's here to tell us about his local food operation.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here at the conference. While I'm a guest at your conference, welcome to my state. CFS is a 68,000 square foot facility. We manufacture food. It was established in 2004. We currently produce ready-to-eat foods for restaurant, retail, and institutional consumption. Given the competitive environment that I operate in, I currently source ingredients that meet my customers' needs at the lowest cost with no regard for origin. I buy tomatoes by the rail cart load from California. I buy ribs from Poland to replace the ribs from Mexico that we can't get anymore. I buy cream cheese by the truckload, and I don't know where it comes from. And that's the truth. Given those statements, it's probably pretty safe to say I'm a picture of the guy you love to hate. So why have I invested nearly a year of my time and money developing nutritional products with local ingredients? Much has been documented about the persuasive power of a woman. Her name is Sarah Fritzner. You met her yesterday. She led the food group. She was the moderator. Sarah is the farm-to-table coordinator for Louisville. Sarah has spent most of her life trying to connect Kentucky farmers to Kentucky users. I had lunch with Sarah, and she reminded me of my Kentucky heritage. I'm a Kentuckian. I married a Kentuckian. I'm the son of 2 Kentuckians, both who are children of 2 Kentuckians. My wife is a daughter of 2 Kentuckians. Both her parents are Kentuckians. I know you're all thinking about that joke about no limbs on the family tree. We only have 4 million people in this state, so that's probably a fair thought. I will say that there's some celebrity in my heritage. Turns out that my wife is a Stewart from Port Royal. You all know anybody else from Port Royal, Kentucky? I've never met Wendellberry, but Stewart lore has it that my father-in-law's uncle cut his hair. I've only seen pictures, but evidently that was some time ago. The facts are, and Sarah reminded me of this, Kentucky is the 2nd largest tobacco producing state in our nation. 77,000 farm families today are looking to replace tobacco income. Those farm families need an alternate crop, and they need a market to sell to, right here. Sarah convinced me that I could help. I told Sarah this is what I believe about local. You've heard this before, but it's written down here, so I'm going to say it. I believe that day local was expensive. I believed it didn't fit in my food system. I'm sorry. And I believed that local was a niche. It was a market for the elite. What do I believe today? I'm a different person, and Custom Food Solutions is a different plant. Let's address affordable. We built recipes using specific crops we grow well in Kentucky. Turns out we grow sweet potatoes and butternut squash really well. We designed the recipes with a specific market in mind. We delivered products to the market that met the market's primary needs. Did they need nutritional elements? Was that primary? Was it price that was primary? Is it a ready-to-eat product they need? Or is it a sauce? These things were addressed. So with confidence, I went and can go to local farmers with volume projections. I make products between 2,500 and 7,000 pounds at a time. That's important to a Kentucky farmer because we need to talk about cultivating acres. The farmer in Kentucky needs a large scale. I can bring that market to them. Let's talk about the market and a mainstream element. The commercial market wants to hit the easy button. Working with a local vegetable processor, KHI, we remove seasonality from the equation. KHI can buy the product from the farmer, steam peel it, IQF freeze it, and dice it. Now I can do something with that. I buy the product from KHI and I turn it into something magical that a market wants. I meet all the food and safety requirements the commercial market demands, removing that burden from the farmer. I deliver the products packaged for institutional use, the way the market wants it. I sell through the standard 3-tier system process. This is instrumental in closing the chasm. The market doesn't want special order or special delivery. They want it easy. I sell to a distributor. A distributor delivers it to the market. That's the way the commercial market wants it. Let's talk about availability. Wouldn't it be great if everybody could have local? Today, that is not true. And in the state of Kentucky, it is far from true. And I'm changing that. By designing products for very specific markets, for instance, the school lunch program, CFS opened the Kentucky farmer to a market of 138 million lunches a year. 138 million. The farmer loves that. By using local ingredients that are high in nutritional value, low in sodium, we open the healthcare and assisted living market to the farmers in Kentucky. By working with UK and dreaded companies like Aramark, Sodexo, and all the other big food management companies, we are actually replicating Aramark recipes with Kentucky ingredients, selling them at the University of Kentucky, bringing local to students who care about their community. So I'm $100,000 in. Woohoo! As Woody would say, let's celebrate success. But $100,000, I use about 25,000 pounds of product in 100,000 pounds of product. I'm affecting 1 acre today. I can make local work in Kentucky, and it can be done in your state too. If you want to be a part of bringing local foods to the markets of school children all the way to the assisted living in Kentucky, I need your help. I need an equity partner. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I invite you to step up to the microphone to ask your questions that are related to product production and distribution, because I think there's some probably fascinating things that you all might want to tease out, but I will just throw an opener in as you're coming to the mic with your questions, which is, it's a little bit of a chicken and egg game between whether you have a customer, whether you have a farmer, whether you have some machinery, whether you have some financing. Do any of you care to comment about the chicken and egg situation in your world?
Yeah, I mean, I can just talk about how we started. I mean, the reason why we started with home deliveries is we thought, well, a few more households, sell a few more farm products. You know, it was a good way to build supply and demand at the same time in a small way, and then move on to institutions and more farms. And so starting small, it actually worked very well for us.
Anybody else?
Yeah, something that we found that's interesting about our business is that we're dealing with crops that are planted and harvested once a year. And we have to plan, so for a fall harvested crop, we have to already be in conversation with the farmer, say just after harvest in the fall, about what's going to be planted where in the spring and how much of it. And so that means I have to project, I mean, some of the crops, they're growing anyway, and they might adjust their acreage because of us. But most of the crops, like adzuki beans, are like these oddball crops that farmers are trying out. And so we have to somehow do this go-between dance with our customers, again, who a lot of them like to push the easy button. And so what kind of volume do you think you're going to be using after next fall? And that's a tough balance. And a good year can be 1.5 tons an acre, and a bad year could be 1/4 ton an acre. So there's that kind of balance, and it also affects our bookkeeping. Our accountants, our accountant, and anyone who's looked at our books the first time said, whoa, 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 whoa. You've got way too much inventory on hand, buddy. And you got to trim this down. But the realities of this business is that we need to buy truckloads of crop at a time, or we don't buy it. And so that can be anywhere from $15,000 to $45,000 in one shot for inventory that's going to last 6 to 12 months. And that's also hard for the customer to hear because, hey, I'd like some oats this year. Okay, great. How much could you use? So there is a lot of back and forth. It's like parallel parking into a really difficult, tight spot. But we're learning a lot. It's a lot of fun.
I think we have a unique position in that there's both a lot of interest in whole grains for obvious health issues, and we have a lot of sick people around, and at the same time there's a significant cultural resistance to it. You know, you don't find whole grains everywhere, and people have a resistance to it. So what we're doing is, with very close relationships with Whole Foods and other bakers and the farmers, creating this, it's sort of like we're holding hands and looking at each other and saying, okay, well, we're gonna step forward. We're not worrying about how much money I'm gonna make or you're gonna make. We're gonna try to lift all boats and try to create something that will really have an impact. And in part, it's driven by this really serious interest in changing the way people eat, which is, which is a big asset for us. But the level of cooperation is significant, and the level of complexity of pricing and how we're going to move forward with millions of pounds of product coming from different people, it's a real complex problem with some really smart, well-intentioned people at the table. So,
Thank you. I'd like to get as many questions from the audience as possible. If you can state your name and where you're from.
Hi, excuse me, Linda Goodwin from North Carolina. I'm concerned about packaging and the distribution of food systems. And can any of you who want to ramp up your business tell me if improved packaging, particularly compostable packaging, for instance, cellophane instead of plastic, is part of your business plan? Thank you.
Mike, you want to go with that?
I guess I can address that. That's not a part of my plan in the next 12 months because the urgency is to actually get local foods into the local market. And so I'm giving way to the market needs, I think, before I would take on that initiative. The market needs are that, for instance, the markets that I'm opening up, the farmers' school system, assisted living, colleges and universities, every one of them to a T want a 5-pound ready-to-eat product in a plastic bag. That's, I think that's the first thing you have to address is, okay, are we going to take that charge, or are we going to step back and say, what does the farmer need? Because right now in the state of Kentucky, there's a lot of need for farmers to plant an alternate crop. I think the bigger issue that and I can address is to provide local products to a local market for that farmer. So my answer is not in the near future.
Peggy, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I will address that because, of course, our retail products are in different size bags. They are in plastic bags. They are recyclable. They are food contact approved, no BPA, and that is the current packaging that we're using now. I always listen to my customers. So if I have customers saying you need to change your packaging, I don't mind taking a look at that and planning for the near future as soon as I can do that. By the same token, we add products according to the way that our customers tell us to. If we get a lot of response and a lot of inquiries and information from customers who say, we'd like for you to add this product, then we'll take a look at it and do some research and sprout it, which is always fun. And if it works and it's a good product, then we add it. So I would certainly be willing to look at that in the near future to make it compostable as well. But it is recyclable packaging.
Thank you. Next question.
This is a question for all the entrepreneurs, not necessarily just those of you we've just heard from, but as a prospective investor in one of your companies, it's my responsibility to have a conversation with you about return, about how you expect to communicate with me going forward, and about exit strategy. This is often something that we who operate out of our hearts forget because we care more about the relationship and how what you're doing aligns with our values. But I've learned through the mistakes I've made in my own direct impact investing that that's a conversation I don't want to avoid going forward. So could you speak to how you'd like to have that conversation? What would work for you? What are your plans? Maybe, I think it probably varies from one entrepreneur to another, but what's your reaction to me as a prospective investor wanting to ask those three questions about communication, return, and exit strategy? I'm Nancy Schaub from San Francisco, by the way.
Thank you, Nancy.
I can speak to that a little bit. Because I'm in the technology sphere, I'm surrounded by technology entrepreneurs, and there's a very strong culture of investment, very fast investment. And so it's typical for some of my peers to sort of press the button and go on a roadshow and try to raise their $1 million over a 2-month period, to sort of go down to the valley and raise the money and so forth. And I know that something that we've really decided to do is to do it slowly, which is to cultivate those relationships. And I think that comes from the recognition that this is a really long-term relationship, and it's like a marriage in some ways. So understanding exactly what the missions and values of each parties are has been really important to us as we've investigated investment. And I think the question around exit, exit for us is a common question because we're a data company. And so it's something that we're fluent in talking about, but we weren't to begin with. And so I guess, the sort of culmination of this is that it takes time to figure out exactly how to align your own values to the people around you. And that goes from employees right up to investors. And maybe it's part of the maturity of a company and an organization as well to understand where that fits into them. Have you got a thought?
I think only that everybody has to be protected in an investment, and everything has to be clearly stated, and I would think in a legal document, and including exit strategies and intentions and risks and all those things that go into a legal document. And so I would hope that nobody would be putting money into something that wasn't clearly spelt out. And the person taking the money has to be protected with expectations. It all has to be made really clear and before any money is taken.
Thanks, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the question, Nancy, because I think that it is something that we all are concerned about as investors. There was a conversation in the pre-conference about whether we're actually investing or whether we're actually doing philanthropy, and where we sit at the crux of that particular question and issue. I think for each investment in each company, I think that most of us concluded that we're actually trying to make investments into the sector, and that is distinctly different from philanthropy. But for some people that may not be true, so I think having each company clarify their expectation and conversation with you is incredibly important. Next question.
Hi, my name is Graham Kerwin. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm a student at Montana State University majoring in sustainable food systems. And I was wondering, this is a question for the grain processors and people working with grains. What kind of work are you doing with local farmers to encourage them to produce these alternative grains for you?
I'll start that. Well, we are pulling some people, a consortium, to the round table in the state of Alabama, starting at the state level and university level, and then some local farmers, to form an organic farming co-op. In investigating and in talking with a lot of people, I find that the biggest challenge, and we do have certified organic farmland in Alabama, that the biggest challenge is we don't have equipment. Okay, so we're looking at shared equipment. We've gotten several organizations and some fabulous grant writers who are coming to the table as well to see how can we fund this? How can we assist someone who wants to go into farming? We have a lot of fallow land in Alabama that used to be farmed, that hasn't been farmed for years. A lot of people grow trees on it. I'm the daughter of a cattleman from a large family of cattle who graze the land, grass-fed. So there's a lot of land, there's a lot of opportunity. And the other way that I can support that is I can say to these young farmers or small farmers that I will contract before you plant your first seed to buy your crop, good, bad, or ugly crop, to buy the yield from your crop. And I think that's a win-win effort there. And that's where my heart is right now in taking our business and making a bigger local impact.
Brandon, I'm getting the red light, so can you keep it short?
Oh, okay. Well, we do provide seed, agronomic information about production to help through yields and everything like that. We also provide some innovative small equipment as necessary, and we take them out to eat at the local restaurants that serve our foods, and that usually turns the tide.
I actually wish we had time for responses and conversation, and there's more questions to be had. What I would say is that these food processors sit really at the nexus between actually what's happening on the farm, getting the food processed through some facility and distributed out to the consumer. It's a really important nexus that they sit at. I'd encourage each of you to take time during the break to talk to them and get to know more about their business. And thank you so much for coming and participating with us today.